So I picked up these Infinity RSB 1980 speakers. I'm guessing this is the year. They were sold for only a few years. There's not like there probably is a marking somewhere in there, but I'm just gonna say that they're 1980 because I think they're only made from like 1980 and like 1983 or something like that. But anyway, these are just incredible sounding speakers. They may have dethroned because they're different, but I will say that as far as like a fidelity level, they've got more hi-fi attributes than the Polk Monitor 10Bs that are my main speakers, which I'm gonna make another video about those pretty soon. I want to come out and just say that these are not real forward sounding speakers. They're not fatiguing. They have really good high end, but it's not too much like high end. For example, like the EPI 100Ws that have the inverted dome tweeter, those are definitely more forward sounding. These emit tweeters, they don't have that kind of quality. They're just different. They still exhibit a lot of detail. I was actually really surprised with the amount of detail that these speakers had. A lot of nuance and detail that the Polks don't have. And they're, like I said, they're better at actually reproducing the music than the Polks are. Are they better than the Polks? Well, I guess it really depends on what you want. They're so different from the Polks that I really don't want to say that they're better in general, like overall. I would say that as far as detail and accuracy, they're definitely better than the Polks. But are they as fun to listen to with everything taken in consideration? I don't know that they're better in general, though, but there are certain things about them that I would say that they have advantages over the Polks. The thing that I really like about them is the mid-range. The mid-range is just super emotional, beautiful sounding mid-range. You got to hear the mid-ranges on these. It's super nice. The Polks, are my other main speakers. I keep bringing them up because I compare the Polks to everything just because I've had them for so long and I know them. It's kind of like a litmus test, or if they're a certain level, then they're comparable to the Polks, then that's kind of just how I feel about stuff, because the Polks they're just amazing also. But I will say that the bass is also wonderful, as well as the mid-range. The bass is something to behold as well. They do produce sub-lows, but it's like a fast bass, probably because of the polyurethane or polypropylene, not polyurethane, polypropylene, the cone. Both the mid-range and the woofer are polypropylene cones. Very complete sound. I mean, you hear the subs, you hear like the low mids, you hear the high mids, you hear the mid mids, you hear the crystal clear high end. It's just abnormally good detail. It's just wonderful sounding speakers. Like I said, I wasn't expecting that. I bought them for $100. I consider this one of life's just happy little surprises. I wasn't expecting them to be this good, to be honest with you. I was expecting to just flip them. So I bought them for $100, and I listened to them for a few minutes, and I was like, oh yeah, they're really good. And then I redid the crossovers. I put new capacitors in the crossovers. They were all electrolytic, so I was like, these are all bad. As soon as I did that and I gave them another listen to, this is what I'm basing this review on, is just post operation after recapping the crossover. I was like, oh my gosh, these are just amazing speakers. So all in all, I think I have like 170 in these speakers, and for $170, it's like, oh my, these are just super good speakers. They're not very common, apparently. I was doing some research, and there's not a whole lot of them for sale. A lot of them, like, not a whole lot of information on these Infinities. They didn't make them for very long. These are a reminder to me on why this hobby is so great. You pick up a pair of speakers for super cheap, just expecting, hey man, they might need a little bit of crossover work, and then I can flip them and make double my money or something. They ended up being speakers that are one of the best sounding speakers that I've ever had come through here, including more modern speakers, which I know a lot of people would, modern speakers are so much better. Whatever. It's just, I don't go off of what other people say on the internet. I go off of what I hear, and everybody's hearing is different. and I like the different character that different speakers have. I will say though, these are probably the closest thing to like a really high-end modern speaker that I've had here, that I've owned. Now I've had some Anthony Gallos in here. A buddy of mine brought those in here, and I've had some Acoustic Technologies single driver stuff in here that I still own. And I've had some Klipsch, some modern Klipsch. Yeah, and these speakers, I feel like compared to all those, I'll say that they're kind of on a different level. Although I didn't get a whole lot of time with the Anthony Gallos, so it's not really that fair. I would have, you know, maybe one day I'll revisit a speaker like those, but just these speakers are incredible, especially for what I paid for them. So if you find them for real cheap, or if they need a little bit of work, definitely worth it. I mean, I want to say that also I really struggle to find any downsides with these particular speakers. Because of this, I'm really kind of leaning towards just selling the EPI 100Ws, because back to back, it's kind of like, okay, do I really need another pair of speakers hanging around? When I got the Polks, now I got these Infinities. I got the EPI 100Ws. I just sold my Rectilinears, which are also some amazing speakers, but I don't need this stuff hanging around. And of course, my wife is like, you need to get rid of some stuff. So, and you know, it's just the way it is. I will say the only thing I really noticed about the Infinities, speaking of downsides, is there is somewhat of a sweet spot, although it's not like glaringly obvious. Like you can walk around and stuff. It sounds good no matter where you're at, but when you have them towed directly at you and you're sitting down, you're like kind of like casually focused on listening to the music. You're just sitting there listening, you're like, okay, it sounds better here than it does when you stand up and walk around. I don't really see that as a problem. You know, when I sit down and listen to music, I sit down and listen to music. It's not like I'm like sitting down and walking around, and I know, like I'm actually focusing on how the system sounds. Part of being like a music lover and an audiophile, whatever you want to call it. I have the just to make note, these speakers do have they have an L pad and they have a pot on the back adjustment. I just have them all the way open. I don't really like the pots on speakers, but whenever they're there, I just turn them all the way. If it's too much high, then I'll just turn it back, but it's not too much high even with the pots all the way open. So that's pretty much all I have to say about these Infinities. I mean, I know I say this a lot, and I like a lot of speakers, which is just the truth. I like a lot of different speakers. I can find good things about and bad things about all kinds of speakers. There's negatives. There's always negatives. There's always positive. This is one speaker where I was really struggling, like I said, to find any negatives. I think they're just simply amazing speakers. But anyway, that's all I got to say about these Infinities. Thanks for watching.